Welcome everybody to our session. First and foremost, I want to thank the American Pecan Council and the National Pecan Shellers Association. We got a phenomenal presentation for you today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Diane and Chris, and enjoy, everybody.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. Today, we're going to talk about why pecans are the perfect plant-based partners for sensational savory dishes. So, my name is Diane Welland, and this session is sponsored by the American Pecan Council, but it's presented by the National Pecan Shellers Association. So I just wanted to introduce myself and my co-presenter, Chef Chris Koetke. So my name is Diane Welland. I'm a registered dietitian, and I'm the Director of Nutrition Communications for the National Pecan Shellers Association. So my co-presenter today is Chef Chris Koetke. He has been involved in food service and culinary for over 3 decades. He specializes in culinary education, but he has cooked in restaurants and hotels all over the world, and he has a vast amount of experience there. So he'll be talking about the culinary side of it. So you can go to the next one. So as we all know, and as we've heard quite a bit about plant-based foods and the plant-based trend, it has been building steam for years, but it was really intensified and amplified during the pandemic. And this really shows no sign of stopping. In fact, as a result of the pandemic, it has grown, and we expect it to continue growing. And so what that means for restaurants is they now are reshaping their menus to meet the needs of these plant-based foods. Now, one of the main reasons why plant-based foods has become so popular is concerns about health and nutrition and wellness, in particular, immunity. And people have become much more proactive about their health and their diet. They really want to take a more proactive approach to eating and to diet. So again, that filters down into food service and restaurants. And pecans are the perfect fit for these plant-based foods. I'm going to talk a little bit about the nutritional side of it. So nutritionally, pecans are a good source of fiber, thiamine, and zinc, and an excellent source of copper and manganese, which is a mineral that's important for metabolism of bone health. The majority of the fat that's in a pecan is unsaturated, so it is considered good fat. So it is the heart-healthy fat. Actually, most of the fat of this unsaturated fat is monounsaturated fat. That's the same type of fat that's in olive oil. So compared to other nuts, pecans are among the lowest in carbs and the highest in dietary fiber. They also contain something called phytonutrients, and these are beneficial plant compounds. They're specific to plants. Sometimes they're also called bioactives, and they are very helpful. They have positive effects on our health. So I mentioned that pecan is a heart smart food, and certain pecan products actually have the American Heart Association certification. So several studies show that regular consumption of nuts as part of a healthy diet protects against heart disease. And there was a recent study published in 2018 which showed that regularly eating a small amount of pecans in particular had a significant effect, a positive effect, on biomarkers of heart disease and type 2 diabetes. So in fact, a pecan-rich diet significantly improved insulin sensitivity in adults who were overweight and obese in this study. So pecans can help with weight control and also satiety. I'd mentioned that they have a high fat content. So Chris will be talking a little bit more about that fat content when he talks about texture and taste on the culinary side, but it also helps curb appetite and helps with satiety. So environmentally friendly, pecans, like all nuts and plant foods, have a lower carbon footprint, and they can help ease climate change. Economically, they're lower in cost than animal proteins and seafood proteins, so they certainly appeal to those watching their budget. They also are cost effective, particularly the pieces. And we'll be talking a little bit more about the different forms of pecans, so you can think about that as well. So from a taste perspective, pecans have a very unique taste and texture, which our chef is going to talk more about that. And then I just wanted to mention simplicity, because a lot of plant-based cooking doesn't have to be complicated. It actually can be very simple. And it could be as simple as reducing the meat portion and increasing the vegetable portion. For example, you can do something like mushrooms and pecans, and that would increase, adding that to a burger. And that would basically be reducing the meat portion, increasing the vegetable and the nut portion using pecans. But you can also create very imaginative and very easy vegetarian and vegan option, like using pecans as a base for things like tacos, sliders, like an Asian lettuce wrap. Even something like a bolognese would work really well, and the nuts would be they would give it the texture of a meat. So it's a really good option. So you can go on to the next one. So luxury items. Now, people have been cooped up over the last year, but they have still been treating themselves to something special. They still want that little bit of luxury. They want something special in their day, and they want that restaurant experience. They want to be pampered. They want it to be treated special. And pecans have that premium quality, a premium status. They pair with other luxury ingredients, but they can also bring ordinary ingredients up a notch. They can actually add value to it. So just a sprinkle with that. And we'll have some more examples about how pecan can kind of bring a product to the next level, kind of give it some premium status, and also increase its value and its profitability. So global cuisine is a big trend. It's something that has been going on for a while. First, when people were traveling internationally, they came home, they wanted to share these foods, they wanted to have the foods they experienced away from home. And then once the pandemic hit, they were now wanting these foods because it gave them the experience of being in a different place, of traveling. So when they weren't able to travel. So it's not likely that there'll be a lot of international travel in the next year or so. So global cuisine is still, something that's very in demand by consumers. They like that exotic, the authentic, the spices, and pecans can stand up to any of those flavors because it's got, such a strong, unique flavor, the sweet, the spicy, any of these authentic ethnic dishes. And it actually goes hand in hand with the next cuisine that I'm going to talk about, which is actually has kind of a funny name. It's called glocal, but it's global cuisine that is either prepared or using local ingredients. So local and regional foods are something that consumers really desire. They want to support their community. They're reluctant to travel, and eating local also has very sustainable and environmentally friendly aspects to it. So pecan operations are generally family-run operations. Usually there are several generations. They're local and regional specialties. Pecans actually are grown in the southern half of the United States in about 15 states. So they are a local product. They're native to North America. So they do kind of fit the bill for a local and regional food, and any of that, like a kind of local type cuisine, which is global cuisine with local ingredients. So those are the top trends that I wanted to mention that pecans fit beautifully into. So now I'm going to hand it over to our chef, Chris, to talk about how to actually put all these things together. So there you go, Chris. Oh, you're on mute.
right, can you hear me? Everybody, excellent. So,
Yes.
Diane, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. And I'm going to sort of change gears now, and we're going to jump right into what do we do with the pecan? I mean, how do we incorporate it into our foods and create things that are really interesting, intriguing, and differentiated? But the fact of the matter is, pecans are the only tree fruit or tree nut that comes from the USA. So it's local. It's part of who we are as Americans. And I think that has a very sweet spot in our heart. I mean, for many of us, pecans are comfort food. We don't have to convince people to eat it. We grew up eating things like, sticky buns, pecan pie, chocolate turtles, all that sweet, wonderful stuff. And pecans are great in those sweet applications. But today, we're focusing entirely on savory applications. So again, intriguing. We're going to make things that are hopefully really differentiated. So you can prepare this for your customers and kind of give things a twist using pecans and really taking advantage of their texture, which is, as Diane mentioned, they're unique. They're soft, but they still have a beautiful crunch to them. I always think of them as kind of silky in texture. So we can take advantage of that and the wonderful flavor that they have. Now, what we're going to do in the 10 minutes or 9 minutes left here, I have a whole table full of stuff that's going to be a little show and tell here. And we're going to talk about pecans from the standpoint of functionality. And these are really about concept ideas. It's not about a recipe. But if you are interested in what we've prepared up here, please let us know afterwards. Send us a chat, and we can certainly take care of that. Now, before we get into the different applications, as Diane mentioned, there's lots of different ways that we can purchase pecans. I'm going to hold this up in front of my camera here. And so, the one that we all sort of think about is this, which is whole pecans, which they're beautiful and they can be used in certain applications, but they're more expensive. So for food service applications, I'm a huge fan of pecan pieces, which are basically like those whole pecans just in smaller pieces. And frankly, they work better in a lot of the stuff I'm going to show you. The other one that's a lot of fun is this, and this is pecan meal, and that's pecans that are very finely ground, and it has really great application in a bunch of recipes. Now, a couple other interesting and fun pecan products. The first is this one right here, and you can see right through it. This is pecan oil, and pecan oil has the fatty acid profile that Diane talked about, a really healthy fatty acid profile, and also it's a neutral oil, so you can use it in lots of applications, and it has a really high smoke point, 470 degrees. So if you're doing those, kind of super high heat cooking methods, that's great. Now, the one that I've recently discovered is this one right over here, and that's a little hard to see maybe, so I have a spoon and I'm going to stir it up a little bit, and it's absolutely luscious and wonderful. And this is pecan butter, which is so delicious. Pecan butter, why it's so good is that the pecans are really beautifully roasted, and as a result, they have this great flavor. Lots of things we can do with that. Now, in the recipes I'm going to show you, a lot of times I will use roasted pecans. The reason being, as many of you know, when you roast a nut like a pecan, what happens, you bring out a different flavor profile, a little bit more assertive, deeper, richer, 350 degrees on a sheet tray, 10 to 15 minutes until they turn a beautiful brown color. They smell good. Get them out of the oven, get them off of the sheet tray, and then we can do a million different things with it. Now, in terms of the recipes, the concepts here, I'm going to divide it up into a couple categories. So the categories are spreads, binders, thickening agents, extenders, plant-based, and then a couple cool ideas if we get to it, if I have time. So the first one is spread. So there's a lot of things we can do, and I'm going to kind of zoom through these. The first is a really simple idea, and that's this right over here. And this is pecan mustard, roasted pecan mustard. It couldn't be easier because pecans are so simple to put into recipes. This, all it is roasted pecans, Dijon mustard, little salt, pepper, little water, blend it up, and you're ready to go. What's interesting about that is that while roasted pecans have a beautiful assertive flavor, they still are a mild flavor. So you got to go kind of light on the mustard to achieve that perfect balance. All right, the next one is this one right over here, which we see the shrimp on there, and this guy right over here. I'm going to tilt it that way, and that's an aioli. So now I can use some of those pecans, roasted pecans, as a binder along with, and this is vegan, by the way, it's made with tofu, and it brings this great sort of combination of that raw, intense garlic and the sweetness of the pecans together. Very, very delicious. We can also do things like, again, lots of simple, basic ideas. This guy right over here, this is a white bean dip. Now, if you notice, it's not very white. The reason is I took the white beans and then I put in some chipotle for a little spice and pecans, great together. And then I have some roasted pecans there. Just very simple ideas. But again, it's giving a twist. It's doing something a little bit different with pecans and with the recipes. Next, I can use pecans as a binder. I can use them to stick things together, to hold things together. I can put them into, for instance, ground beef and make a hamburger patty. Helps to hold it together, lighten it at the same time. And I can do this guy right over here. And this is a crab cake. So in crab cakes, you put in some breadcrumbs to sort of give it a little bit of texture, hold it together. Why not put in that pecan meal? Holds it together, and it gives a really beautiful texture to it. All right, let's jump to, we've talked about spreads, we've talked about binders. Let's talk about thickening. So a pecan can thicken different recipes. The first is, I'd like to show you, this is one of my favorite recipes, and that's a salad right over here. And on top of it, I have a grilled Vidalia, onion, roasted pecan vinaigrette. It is incredibly easy. You just grill off some Vidalias, roast the pecans, oil, a touch of pecan oil, bunch of vinegar, little water, blend it up in a food processor. And again, how many of us are looking for that vinaigrette, that salad dressing that's just, a little bit different? And that's it. Great flavors. The grilled Vidalia and the pecan together, unbelievable. How about this one? I can also make baba ganoush, which, there's a lot of emphasis today on Mediterranean flavors. They've been around for a while. And this one is basically baba ganoush, but instead of putting tahini in, I'm going to put in lightly roasted pecans. Now, notice the distinction there. I don't want those really heavily roasted pecans. Just a light roast is perfect with that. Okay, extenders. So what does this mean? I can put stuff into various preparations to extend it. For instance, I can make a salmon cake, and I have raw salmon, chop it up, mix in some of that pecan meal. That brings it all together, and then I throw in pecan pieces, both together. And what that does is the pecan pieces give it a little bit of a crunch. And by the way, I just realized I forgot to mention, because I do this with the salmon cake. Let me go back to that crab cake. On the outside, I can also use those pecans. That's pecan meal and panko, 50-50 mix, and that's my breading. It's really good. Put it on meats, put it on chicken. It's great. Okay. Extenders, really fast idea. How many of you are looking for a breakfast idea that's just super simple to do? Well, how about just taking basic breakfast sausage, mixing in some pecan pieces, make your patties, cook them in the oven, cook them in the combi, whatever. They're delicious, and the pecans really marry beautifully with those flavors of sage, etc. Or if you ever are making something like a smoked fish dip, why not just go ahead and put in some pecan pieces? Again, it gives that great texture. And what you'll find when you work with pecans is the flavor of those pecans it marries beautifully with the rest of the flavors. Okay.
Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's about that time.
We have 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, 2:29.
All right, I'm going to go super fast because I want to show you a couple plant-based things really quick here. First is this is cauliflower. Now, a lot of people doing stuff with cauliflower. These are cauliflower that were boiled and sauteed really heavily till they're nice and dark. And then I put a mustard glaze on top, reduce it down, put the pecans in there. Again, pecans and mustard. There's something magical about it. And I think I'm going to do it really fast. Why not just do a plate of pasta, super simple veggies, and then put on a whole bunch of those whole pecans. That's where you want them. You want them for the texture. And the very last thing, cool idea. How about some pecan streusel, savory streusel? Pecans sauteed in butter, panko sauteed in whole butter. When they start to brown, in goes the meal. Cook it for about 45 seconds to brown the meal. Take it out, sprinkle it on anything. Gives you that great roasted pecan flavor, good crunch, and it's good on everything. Really, everything, Garrett.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you to the American Pecan Council and the National Pecan Shellers Association. Everyone, you can go to a breakout session from here. You can click on the sessions tab and choose which session you want to attend live. Thank you so much and have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.